Well, it's 1 o'clock on October 26th, and we've been having rain since the early morning hours. And I'm just gonna go see how much we've got in the rain gauge now. Okay, so it looks like we're finally at the inch level. The inner tube here is filled right up. Nothing in the bottom overflowing yet, so we're right at 1 inch. That's stuff including yesterday. Yesterday we got 3/10 of an inch, so since then we've had 7/10. Just standing out in the tractor shed out here right now. And the rain's coming down fairly hard. It's been coming down fairly hard all day. Not pouring, but a good steady rain. And since this morning, I looked at the rain gauge early this morning when I came out, and it was 7/10. So we've had 3/10 of an inch till 1 o'clock. Anyhow, hopefully we'll have 5 or 6 more hours of this and can get another ½ inch or more. This is all to do with this thing they call the Bomb Cyclone, which came ashore just over New York through the night and has joined up with another low pressure coming in from the west, and they've magnified each other into a strong rain producing event and wind producing event too if you're further south towards the States. We've had some gusty winds here at times as well, but I understand it's very windy down there on the east coast of the US. Anyhow, I'm glad to get it. We're still recovering from a fairly long drought in the summer here. We could actually use 6 or 7 inches of rain at least, but this will help to restore some of what we've lost. Well, I found out where the wind was, and it was just around the east side of our house. The plantation north of our house was really keeping the wind away from that area, and as soon as I came around the corner it became very gusty, quite blustery. It's a cold day too. It's only 7 degrees centigrade here, so with the wind and the rain it feels quite raw. So coming up to our old pond here, this is the one I made the video about a few weeks ago, and it was basically empty almost. You can see it has come up a little bit, certainly far from where it can be at certain times of the year, where it can be right up to where I'm standing here. Another 2 feet of depth or 3 feet, but it's coming up a bit, so that's a good sign. And here's what we call the new pond, which was basically an area that was scoured out by a bulldozer after we got here, and it made it about 4 or 5 feet of depth. And you can probably tell it's still got very little water in it, only several inches, but it had been totally dry a few weeks ago. Now the water can come up right to the brim of this depression here, so that shows you how low water levels are still here, even though a lot of people think there's been a lot of rain lately, but we haven't really regained most of the rain we've gradually lost over the last few summers. It's very blustery out here in the pit. I'll head into the woods where we can get a bit more shelter. Just take a little tour through there to see how things look. So it's a lot more calm here in the woods, so that's good, especially when I'm carrying the umbrella. The wind was almost yanking it out of my hands out there in the pit area. It's always nice in the woods in the rain. Everything's wet and the leaves have a nice shine on the ground to them, and there's just a greater sense of calm than being out in the wide open. We'll probably try to finish our hikes off tomorrow at Frontenac Park. Sounds like the weather's going to be good, sunny and about 12 degrees. Same for Thursday, but I think we'll probably do those tomorrow and get them over with. And then hopefully on Thursday, I can maybe go out for another bike ride. I keep wondering when my last bike ride may occur, but as long as we can keep getting days of 10 plus degrees that are sunny, I can keep riding. Once it gets below 10, or much below 10, it gets more uncomfortable, for me anyhow. This shows a couple yellow birch trees growing in the thin soil above a boulder here. And probably what happened here when you get roots exposed like this is that these trees start off as seedlings in the dying trunk of an old tree, and then gradually as the old trunk rots away, you're left with the exposed roots of the newly growing trees. So they appear like they're stranded on top of the ground. Coming into Hemlock Hollow here. A lot of dead and dying trees in our forest, mainly the beech that have been toppling over from the beech bark disease, but also quite a few of our hemlocks are dying. There's a dead poplar there that fell down, and up here I still have this beech to cut down and cut it up for firewood, I guess. Just haven't gotten to it yet. Just heading back to the house right now. Just wanted to see how things were looking out here. It's not really the kind of day we want to spend a lot of time out. It's not bad under the umbrella, but it gets hard holding it for a long period of time with the winds blowing it in every direction. Anyhow, it's a nice day to get out though and walk. It's nice to see and hear the rain, and despite the coolness. Here's a clump of switchgrass which I planted a number of years ago, and it has since spread along the top of our pit here. We have a lot of clumps of it now. I like it. It's a nice tall native grass, very hardy, grows in these sandy damp soils. Here's another clump of switchgrass. It's really spread around quite easily. Occasionally I'll take handfuls of the seeds and throw them around other parts of the pit. Here's some of my butterfly weed seed pods. Some of them have already opened up and some are still waiting to open. Every year these guys spread themselves around the pit too. These are the nice orange flowers I was highlighting in one of my videos earlier this summer. And here we come upon some of my clumps of big bluestem, which I introduced here with a few small plants a number of years ago. And you can see how well they've seeded themselves all through this little zone here. And they have sporadically grown elsewhere on the property too. It's one of the native prairie grasses, 6-7 feet tall. It gets this nice pinkish bronzy cast in the fall, which is beautiful. Big bluestem. So much to do here. You could spend a lifetime just doing the work you need to do, but you obviously want to have some fun in your life too, so a lot of the work gets delayed, much to the chagrin of everybody involved, including myself. Just heading up through what we call the Haven, which is just a protected zone in amongst all these trees. Here's one of my larger, or this is the largest tulip tree I have. Planted this here, not sure now, maybe 10 years ago, and it's doing really well. I just need to thin out some of these pin cherries beside it so it can get more light. I've got 2 or 3 Catalpa trees which I grew from seed. I collected some seed off a tree in Kingston that was beside a restaurant we used to frequent. Brought the seeds home, planted them indoors, grew them up to 3 or 4 inch tall seedlings, planted them out here, and now they're 30 and 40 feet tall. Here's one of the other ones straight ahead here that's lost most of its leaves. Another Catalpa, then there's one up the hill here that you can't see. I always love these southern trees, and they seem to survive pretty well here at this latitude. So there you have it, a brief little tour on a rainy day. I think I'll head back in now. I hope you'll hang around for some future videos I'm planning. I'll be diverging away from the trail walking videos for the most part. I'll still have a few of those perhaps, but trying to cover some more ground over the winter here. Thanks for joining me.